Yes. All right. All right, y'all clap for me. I'm gonna borrow your stool of truth here. That's how we do it. Another round of applause for Clebo. One of the coolest mentors I've ever had. Learned a lot from this guy. I was a poet living in Oak Cliff, Texas, and I met Clebo at the Mandalay Festival. He had a poetry tent out there. I think I met Danny Solis that day, Clebo and some other folks, and I did this really bad, terrible poem. Clebo's like, "Hey, you should come out to our poetry slam." And I'm like, "Okay."
Recruiting.
He was recruiting, and so came out, learned a few things from him. Probably before I met Clebo, I was doing a lot of music, and I'd play in bands around town, but we never got out of the city. We didn't go down to Austin, the music capital. We didn't do any of those things. South by Southwest, I think, it's probably jumping off a little bit by then, but we didn't go anywhere. My first trips out of the state was in Clebo's van. And my friends are like, "Who's that biker you're riding around with?" And we were like the weirdest odd couple coming into venues and stuff, because you got this big black guy from Oak Cliff, then you got this big white guy from Oak Cliff.
But we had matching Walmart pajamas.
Yeah, it was a total accident. That told you how we shopped. We both loved Williams Chicken, and we both had these matching Walmart pajamas. And we didn't even know that we bought the same pajamas until we were on the road in Chicago. I come out of one bathroom, he comes out of another, and I'm like, and I have a picture that we're like, same color, same place, everything. It was so crazy.
Purple.
Yeah. Was it purple or maroon?
It was maroon.
Maroon.
Maroon with white piping.
You guys both snore the same too.
Yeah. And I think that's why we could sleep around each other, because we snored at the same frequency. And
No one snores like you, Gina.
hey, I think it's a beautiful thing. Once,
I had to sleep in the same room with both of y'all.
Gino,
well, we reverberate off the walls, and that's kind of getting you into a different stage of consciousness.
Yes, it's called hell.
Snore supreme.
Snore supreme, baby, yeah. I remember once Rock recorded my snoring while I was sleeping. He made a whole like Godzilla movie around it. He's like, "Godzilla's coming over the hill," and you hear me going, "Rrr," you know? Yeah, but I traveled across the country with this guy. We once drove from Dallas all the way to Middletown, Connecticut. We toured all the way up, stopping at these different places. It's the first time I ever heard someone slam with a sestina poem, and I was like, "What is that?" I knew nothing about poetry. And I was dating a young lady from Albuquerque, New Mexico named Prestina. So I have a poem called Street Poet, and I said, "A sestina sounds like a little chick I used to date." Yeah. So, and I got turned on to the loveliness of Dr. Pepper. I'm like,
fried chicken.
and fried chicken. I said, this little white man loves him some Dr. Pepper. And it was total culture shock for me, because I was like, wow, this is different. But I've never seen nobody guzzle that much Dr. Pepper in my life. He should have stock in it or something. But another person who is a very close and dear friend and was mentored by Clebo is this guy right here. Looks a little bit like a leprechaun, a little bit. His name is Rock Baby. Rock, come up here.
Give it up for Rock Baby.
Rock Baby.
So Jason Carney was to be here tonight, but you know he's a hockey player, you know, and he fell, and we're the same age, so he's hurt. And so this guy right here, Rock, take this mic and tell about your experiences. Oh, look at it.
Two mics. All right.
Two mics.
Yes. Gino invited me to the slam, and that's when I first met Clebo at Club Clearview. Came in there. Clebo was dynamic to me. Got an opportunity to experience him hosting, I got to a point where I was able to win some slams at times. So I really
Not when I was
Had
there.
to bring out the titties.
I know, yeah, I was bringing that out. But Clebo was a great mentor. He did one of the best things for me. He said, Rob, we're gonna go to nationals for the meeting, Slam Masters meeting, and I want you to do that poem at the Slam Masters meeting. And that's when titties became all the rage. I mean, the Slam Sisters, they were out to be at that in
Did
Chicago.
they chase you down the street?
Yeah, that was that time. He's like, do it, because I don't know about taking that to nationals. Let's try it out with them. And we did it. Oh, man. Yeah. But I got that exposure to, where people are going to see different things and they're going to have different opinions about it. And that was a great learning experience.
Mark Smith liked it.
Yeah, he did. I came back the following year, did it again. He stamped it, and it's been Titty Man ever since.
And ended up on HBO.
Definitely. And I owe a lot of that to Clebo, his tutelage and all that. One of the I did travel with Clebo too. We were on the road, and I used to do stand-up. And one of my jokes was, I got this friend. He does poetry and stuff, and he likes to smoke and stuff, but he has asthma, so he goes. I never did say his name, but we know who he is. But no, Clebo, he taught me about poetry, what works, how to read the audience, performance. I got to see him a lot of time, and then perform. He talked to me about writing. We spent a lot of time together, as poets and on the poet scene, going to nationals and doing all that. I remember we won in 2001.
2001.
I was the alternate, and I was there.
Yeah, give it up for the alternate, y'all.
I think I was the reason we won.
It's like a good luck charm.
Because I was like, okay, you gonna let me in? You gonna let me in? It was like double dutch, you gonna let me in?
I was like this the whole time. Just calm down. But he finally got up in there. We've been first place, second place, and were we third? Yeah, so we got 1, 2, and 3. And so we did a wonderful thing. Hey, y'all, that's a Dallas boy laureate over there. He's kind of glowing. Clap for him. He's glowing a little bit over there. If you see like an angelic glow, this is Joaquin. Man.
Yes.
One thing that Clebo also taught me as far as like writing poetry, at the time I would put like current like pop references in my poetry. He's like, that's cool, man, but you're dating your poetry. You need to write timeless pieces that ages from now. People who like Shakespeare, we still read him today. And Clebo taught me about that. And I'm like, man, this reference about Bobby Brown is real cool and Whitney Houston. And he's like, it sounds fly, but hey, if you want timeless poetry, you need to go to another level. And he turned me on to so much different music too. Stuff I probably never would have listened to.
Some great music too.
Great music. Some of it was interesting, but great.
But I like watching the movies that he
Oh, yes. Wait. I got look. Normie and Clebo had their house in Oak Cliff. They had this really cool 2-story home in Oak Cliff, and we would call it Hotel Clebo because every poet touring throughout the nation would stay at their house. Now, they'd have these parties, and people would bring beer and wine. They didn't drink beer and wine. But they'd have these refrigerators on their first floor just full of beer and wine that they never drank. So when poets who loved beer and wine came, they didn't want to leave. And Clebo and Normie was like encouraging them, yeah, just drink a whole case of that. We need to get it out of here to make room for the next party.
You want to watch a movie?
Yeah, and then we go into the movie room, and there were, like these books on the wall, y'all, there were DVDs for days lined up. And he loves movies. And I'd be over his place, and he's trying to show me this obscure film, and I'm like, I gotta go home.
When the Blu-ray came out, I got to watch that movie, Anastasia with Clebo.
Yeah.
I guess it was more exciting for him, but it was really good.
Yeah, he had that inhaler. And of course, he's known for this very exciting poem called Rarefied in Arkansas. And
Speaking of exposure.
speaking of exposure, he would tear off his clothes.
Yes.
And at the Nationals, they didn't like that, so he became a rule. Was it
Every year.
Well,
Yeah.
Dallas making rules.
Yep.
every year we make a rule? So
He didn't make the rules.
well, they couldn't get him on the prop file thing, so they made a new rule: the no nudity.
You had to
And
walk into the venue nude and stay that way all night.
yeah, if you were going to be nude, you had to be nude coming into the venue.
The technical language
No
was
taunting.
you can't use your clothing as an item to accentuate your pose.
Right. Because he was like, yeah, man, you know. My rule, the Gino rule is the no taunting rule. I would taunt the other teams.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was taunting. I thought I was just having a little Well, yeah, you know in the Warriors movie where they have the two bottles, and they're clinking them, and I would come in with these two, like Coca-Cola bottles or, glass bottles, and poets come out and play, and then we do like a group piece and mess with them. And so I think it was,
Alaska.
yeah, Alaska and, what's the other team?
Fargo. Y'all picked
Fargo.
Alaska and Fargo.
Yeah.
Two nicest places.
They're so
We didn't
nice.
pick on anybody. Like 2,000 people just cheered with us. No,
We apologize.
No, I don't apologize. I don't apologize.
But with that said, y'all,
Wait a minute, that was one other thing too.
What are the things?
I was
Okay.
traumatized coming to Clebo and
You're
Naomi's
the
house.
alternate.
Every time I would come there, they had these dogs, German Shepherds, I think. And it would come, and when I walked through the door, it just come right up to my crotch and just sit there. I'm like,
Golden retriever.
yeah, whatever. They had teeth.
We think German Shepherds got a golden retriever.
Hey, tomato.
Taxi and Gettysburg.
Oh, okay. But they would come, one of them would come right to my crotch and just sit there. I'm like, what do I do? You know?
Let's go.
And he said, sit down, sit down. And he didn't have to yell and threaten and all that. So finally I could sit down. I don't know, it was something about my crotch.
Didn't you have the little dog named Bijou?
They're just trying to
Yeah,
get you
I had Bijou, Rouser, Lola,
Yeah, I remember Lola.
Isabel,
Belly.
Did she say
Belly,
browser?
yeah, Isabelli, and Max.
Right, that dog was like,
Was a German
Max was a German Shepherd.
Is
The
it
doggy.
Did we get
The Bijou was my favorite because it was like a little actor.
The Bichon.
Yeah, so you come in and it lay on the stairs and go,
That dog is a mop. You were scared. You just traded like a mop for a German Shepherd, dude.
But, I was terrified of dogs, and then now I have a dog, and I'm like, go smell the crotch as soon as people come to my house. I'm waiting on Clebo to visit. Smell the crotch. But I do want to say I learned, Clebo, Dr. Pepper, definitely.
oh my God.
Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen, and milk. I know.
And your family owned a Dairy Queen, right, at one time?
My grandmother managed a Dairy Queen.
Okay. It's a difference between managing and owning.
Big deal.
In high school, I go there every day for lunch and get free Dairy Queen.
One of the
The
things.
component is you do not drive past it. You will stop.
Yeah.
So Clebo, he was great. He's a great storyteller. You can tell it in his poetry. As an exemplar for me in being a mentor, that's one of the things I learned, to be a great storyteller. Even just talking with him, he could tell the most wonderful story. I can't say if they were true or not. I believe
That's
them.
not the point.
But
The point
the,
is the
I
story.
mean, when I would tell a story, it would go one place and then it would the climax and fizzle out. His would have a climax and then some more and then some more. I mean, just phenomenal. And those are some of the things that I took from him, and he modeled that for me in real life. He was the exemplar. So I do pay homage to him, and thank you.
Thank you, Clebo.
I do have.
What do you have?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh, Rock has things. But what we're going to do after Rock presents... Oh, presents, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, what you got in there?
That's a little bag.
Read it? Okay, I'm going to read it. Here, you hold this. Can you get that? He's short, he can't get over here.
You should have packed it in a big box. And then made your dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Old School Poet Award goes to
Yeah.
Clebo Rainey. We go back like 8 tracks. You get an 8-track cassette. Yeah. Well, we got that being shipped in, the 8-track player.
All right.
And that's me and Rock Baby on there. All our poetry.
Just Peggy Lee.
Well, that's our
Scratch
stage
her
name.
name out.
Yeah, just scratch her name out. We have
It's
to
a
use
new
her.
group.
Yeah, it's a new group. So with that said, y'all, it's time for us to honor Clebo with some of his own poetry from people who are mentored and influenced by him. So coming to the stage to introduce this, we have Brother Zach over there. Give it up for Zach. He's an MVP of tonight.
Okay, Zach.
Zach can do your taxes and set up your sound.
You can also act in your movie and direct it and tell everybody what to do.
That's what he does.
Yep.
Take it away, my man.
Thank you for the host one more time. Clebo Rainey. So, I was tasked with going through the work of our honoree this evening. I'm pleased to be here because we're all here because this man gave us a chance,
Hell yeah.
an opportunity,
Come on.
a place, gave us a home, he gave us a team, he gave us a family. More importantly than that, he gave us slam poetry in Dallas.
Come on.
So, not only does he give us slam poetry in Dallas, he also gives us a legacy to live up to. When I was going through Clebo's works, I'm looking in the back of one of the books, and one of the books, poets that I was already thinking of were actually name-checked in the work. Paul Sexton, which that motherfucker could rock a sport coat. Carlos, and our first reader for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Opalina.
How many times have I been sacrificial? Damn.
Somebody gotta be blood, baby.
Blood on my
Quick words. I feel like I just got the very beginning of my experience with Clebo because I'd been doing the slam and I'd been doing pretty well. It was really exciting for somebody who had never done anything like that before. I was fresh off my first divorce, and it was a weird time, and he gave me a chance. I'll never forget that because of Clebo, I met my husband, Carlos, and there's just not much more than you can say than that. That's a big deal. Also, you know, I think I was doing really well. I'm not going to say that I could have been part of the slam team that year, but maybe I could have. But it was all moot because I was pregnant and I was going to have my baby on the day that the competition was on. So, yeah. But now I have a lovely daughter. So, thank you, Clebo, for all of that. Thank you for the life that I have now. That's a big deal, Clebo, so thank you. I'm super nervous, guys, but here we go. All around the city. It had been a while since I had rolled around the city just for the sake of movement, light, and the smell of flesh. My life had been a mesh of webby sobriety that had robbed me of the sanity I had lost and then found like a siren sounding at midnight that awakens you to a Texas tornado. When I stopped to catch my breath a few years ago, I was close, so close to the edge where I loved to play and stayed as long as I could mentally and physically take it. When I go out now, I just sit alone in some corner of myself thinking about dangerous nights with black angels and copper light silky patterns of the skies, their gasoline wings fluttering across my consciousness like the warm breath of Kali in a Hindu garden paradise, filled with nubile sacrifices for the king's assassins. From there, they are sent out to murder and destroy with the promise of a return to eternal bliss if their sword or spear should miss their mark. And all around the city, headlights, wind, and sperm wraps around my mind as if spun by a demon spider in a dark cave. The young and the brave continue to keep it close as a smooth shave, while the lonely keep on raving about things they don't understand. With greedy design, they close in on their prey and stay the night in self-righteous blue dens of CDs and drugs and men in leather masks, hugging the legs of their mistress, wearing cock rings that jingle like evil Christmas bells. I yell across the glow of elm and good Latimer, a deep Elm curse, and continue to empty my purse on as many Scotch rocks as my stomach can stand. It begins to rain on me and the bike, and that just makes me wet on the outside, matching my loins now with wasted emissions. And all around the city, concrete and steel belt out music and death, rocks of coke and meth running down the nostrils of people who hide in bathroom stalls, where more than all is thrown upon the empty streets. A part of me looks for a place to land like some skater out of control, while another seeks out the corner of my eye for anyone or anything to spy on. A peeping Tom in a dirty back alley behind a whorehouse, a creamy, freckle-faced redhead in wide-open blouse sits down next to me and starts laying a trap. But I won't bite. I'm too close to the knife for charming, and all around the city, the armies of destruction rally around my flag. She wonders if I'm a fag, but who cares? I know if I moved on her, I'd just scare her away, like the staff of Moses thrown at the feet of the Egyptian pharaoh as it turns into a snake. I fake a smile and play with my keys, waiting to make my move towards the door. She waves a forlorn goodbye and wonders what I was writing. And all around the city, gangs fight, lovers quarrel, and cops wait in silence for us to slip up under the full moon, made red and hazy with city pollution. I stop in an empty parking lot to cup my breast and rub my crotch and come in lonely repose. A black rose that only blooms after midnight, and all around the city, I pound the pavement with words and solitude. At the Sanssouci Swingers Club, it's the Thursday lingerie show where lemon crosses mockingbird and a fruity winged display of murky, horny wives and their suave gentlemen, their mouths watering as they watch each other to get it on with some stranger. It's the danger and the chance of screwing someone they haven't screwed yet that makes them wet and hard. And all around the city, life whirls and twirls as Michelle brings me another drink, and I sink out of sight, gliding back towards the heights of Winder's angels hiding in their black and white world of solitude, reading the minds of all of those I encounter and dreaming of becoming mortal. I'm soaring now, up and down wind drifts of the tall buildings, breathing fire from my nostrils and mouth, while all around the city encoded in the street lights and messages keep flashing. Nothing stops the bleeding. Everywhere changes but stays the same. The name of the game is escape. And all around the cityscape, all around the city so late, all around the city so great, all around the city with Mephistopheles knocking at the gate, all around the city drowning in my own fate, all around the city, all around the city, all around the city. Thank you.
Swingers clubs in Dallas. Can you go through like Clebo's poetry is like going through your memories of Deep Ellum? For those of you who could remember what it was, and if you could remember, you weren't there. All right. So, like I said, performance poetry in Dallas is a legacy. It's because of Clebo that we get venues like this, and we do want to thank the Dallas Institute for hosting us here tonight. And it pleases me to know that we're so entwined in the history of this city. Right now, we got a poet laureate who was once upon a time slammed in Club Clearview. It impresses me to know that we've got award-winning chefs, and we've got victorious folks who are victorious. One of the reasons why is because we got to slam on that stage. Like I said, Dallas poetry is a legacy. Part of that legacy lives on a little place called Mad Swirl. Mad Swirl is a collective. It's a place where you can go see art and hear art and be around art and be around performance of people who love art. One of the people here tonight is the founder of Mad Swirl. You can say more all about that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next performer, Johnny O.
birthday, Clebo. Y'all give it up again for the person that is being celebrated. Wow, I mean, what an honor to have, to be here, to be able to be on the stage right now, and be able to read a badass poem of yours. And you don't know this, and I told you today, you just never know the ripples that you leave. You never know who's going to come across in your life in this big ocean of living. And in 1999, me and Cheyenne Gallion wandered down to Deep Ellum because we heard there was a cool poetry slam down there. We'll give this poetry slam thing a try. We just started Mad Swirl. So we were just right. We were just sponges for that vibe and for that energy. And went down to Club Clearview and went to your open mic or your poetry slam. And it was a ripple that stayed with us. And we started our open mic in 2004. We've been going ever since. So the ripple from that night truly is reverberating and is one space holder to another. Thank you for everything you've done for the Dallas poetry scene, for bringing people a place and platform. And thank you, our hosts, of course, Zach, for inviting me. I'm truly honored to be up here tonight. Great piece. While my blood flows. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that again because I cannot misread your title. While my blood still flows. The youth of America weeps tears over too much makeup singing, come play with us, come watch us play. As blood flows down my side to the red brick streets, greeting another Thursday after my father's death. Still milking the big fat ass of a cow the alleys have become for all of us juice freaks who eat beef, sniff drugs, and watch video like it was our constitutional right. The morning's morning light will ebb across waters calm where the American dream lies embalmed in a Taco Bueno bag of chips with a half-smoked joint inside. Revision is a word that comes easy to us all on the slutty news show, saying in an endearing way, we love you all, despite your early missed classes. Love you all, despite the sleeping lovers on whom we cheat. Love you all like fellow snakes in the garden where each day we spend with our wretched selves, the more hardened we become to our own shortcomings. We all want to have poems written about us, with masturbating wet fingers digging deep into our wet, salty flesh, pumping and pouring forth the wisdom of God, which is always there waiting inside us all. As the blood I am bleeding seeps down into the barroom floor, too slight for anyone to really notice, except for the open heart beating so loud everybody around starts to kick it as if it was their own sins instead of mine. And softly, while I entwine my legs around the lustful filled vessels of desire, I read my poetry to earlier her lips, and her heart leaps to the tip of my tongue, and the way blood flows to a nipple, roused to erection, and drop by hopeless drop, I fall back through the cracks in the deep Ellum streets running red with lust for words. Words never do justice to the moment, anyway. To imagine the Texas dust blowing across my jam box, my empty wallet, and my father's 1940 shirt, dying minds are dying to know what I could possibly be saying worth any dirt. Well, the dying words to the dying are these, little sister. Every man is searching for every woman to pull his head down into her bosom and softly stroke his hair and saying over and over, that's all right, baby. That's all right. And my blood continues dripping down into the deepening deep Ellum cracks, thick and red, so all the pretty young girls walk home wearing wings of desire, sweeping my soul higher and higher, far away from this sad old earth where life has always been too short, and nothing ever stops bleeding while my blood still flows. No, nothing, never, ever, forever, stop the bleeding. while my blood still flows. Thank you. Thank you.
Some of my darkest.
What the hell did I say?
You can tell that story right up here. So, I get to be up here tonight because of a couple of people that I ran into that looked at me and said, you could do this. Back in like 1999, I'm at a reading at my university, Texas Women's University. And sure enough, Gino was there with his collective. He's looking at me, this scared, shaggy-haired dude in a Kiss Army t-shirt, standing in front of a Texas Women's University sign reading poetry. He said, you can do this. Second person that saw me hosting at the Brick House Cafe open mic is going to be an ex-performer. She looked at me and said, you can do this. And then this guy said, I tell you what, you booked me over at Brick House, why don't you come read for me? And I did. It was my pleasure. And it was my honor. It's my honor to bring these people here tonight because, like I said, these people are your legacy. This audience is your legacy. This is your family. We're glad to be here for you. Closing out our legacy set tonight are two poets who, if you were at Club Clearview, you were trained to not need this microphone. You knew Dallas poets were coming because they were the loudest motherfuckers on the planet. We ran around the corner of the Red Room and we knew how to read loud because we read over metal bands. And I get to bring two of those folks up here tonight on Clebo with one of his pieces. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eamon Weaver and Victory.
You're lucky we're dressed.
Thank God.
This thing on?
No baby roll.
Is this thing turned on? Because I am. So look, he didn't say it, so I'm going to. As a legacy, this man has been slam champion. He's a lot more than just a bunch of open mics and organizers and every other damn thing. Boy, own yourself.
Yeah,
Like, he is every inch the city, he is doing it, he is owning it. This woman, like, I got to stand on the final stage my rookie year and bring home a title. 2 years later, I got to stand on the final stage with this woman. Like, it was a ton of fun. We've had lots of team poems. It was amazing. Joaquin, like, poet laureate. In 2015, I was in group piece finals with some really amazing people from Atlanta. And in 2016, they named me fucking legend of the South. So, Clebo, extra credit, my man. Like, I skipped the first day of Comp 1. I traded doing a final for becoming a legend of the South, my man. Thank you. For so many years, so many stories. I wore a belt tonight. Y'all are welcome.
all right.
I didn't have it on when I got here, but, like, you're welcome.
Bill.
Do this thing? Let's do it. All right. Poets write themselves into corners. Behind the hipsters.
Below the cool crowd.
Past the cigarette machine.
Within reach of the bartender.
Close to the action, but not part of it.
Chained to the wall at the end of your pants.
Strobed into the disco lights. Right to the left of the wicked.
2 steps away from the fight.
Just inside of the dark-haired girls.
In from the goofy blondes.
Attached to the wall.
Too close to the abstract paintings to really understand them.
Pinned to the lapel of the rich men.
Round peg poked into a square hole. Folded inside a note to a stranger.
Writes epic poems.
About ordinary things. Sing songs with all the drunks.
Rents cheap motel rooms.
Shift into overdrive on a mountain highway, hurrying to the next gig.
Settle into an unknown corner.
In an unknown bar.
In an unknown city. Pity the fool stupid enough to fuck with the walk-the-walk poets.
Too crazy to know better.
Make the audience wetter and wetter
and wetter
Bet more than your ass can cover.
cover.
Count the rubbers left in your poetry bag next to the silver flask.
Ask directions from a friendly stranger at the 24-hour grocery store.
Neon lights, brighter than the
Sun
sun
itself.
Snuggled next to the Campbell's condensed soup on a rest area picnic table.
Rattle the sabers of all the Civil War dead on the Appalachians along the Great Divide.
Hide behind the clubs. Doing drugs and scribbling into blank notebooks.
Romance someone other
Than
than
your
your
lover
lover for
for
a
a
night.
night.
Unite with the chaos.
Strangers jabbering their weird view of life into your tired ears.
Peer into the vacuum.
Fill those spaces with
Reams of verse. Scam for yourself.
and scream for the wretched sketch
Portraits of people and places and things and sing them
in their own
special song.
Poets write themselves into corners. You understand? We stand at the center of our own universe and go on and on and on.
Like this poem.
That's what poets do.
On the electric glide edge of a sliding existence.
Did move patiently towards delicate new beginnings.
The mystery of non-existence.
Out to a whirling space.
In the face of a newborn, 90% of darkness and evil.
Meeting 90% of goodness and light
With no place to go
except straight up into the grace of God.
Rumble thunder.
Rain
Comes tumbling down.
The deeper the root,
The brighter the flower.
the deeper the root,
The brighter the flower.
the
Deeper the root,
the brighter the flower.
The
The deeper the root, the brighter.
Give it up for all the poets who have graced the stage. With Clebo's poetry. Clebo, you're right. They picked like your dark, real dark stuff. But the last one was good. But
People like the dark stuff, what can I say?
yeah, no, it's like
Everyone likes sex and drugs.
yeah. I'm like when they were reading those poems, I'm like Clebo is a freak.
Can you believe I lived to be 73 years old?
Right.
God damn.
Clebo still alive?
Yeah. You're Keith Richards' like cousin or something. Like, good Lord.
No, not that bad.
Not that bad?
Maybe not quite.
Not quite. Okay, that's cool. So now it is time to hear from the man himself. So we're going to get prepared for that. And while Zach gets us prepared and Clebo gets ready, I'll just talk to you. I'm going to tell you some nursery rhymes.
Who's that guy?
Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on that farm, he had a pterodactyl. E-I-E-I-O. With us here. I love doing that. Clee, you want to get your everything set here?
I think I'm ready.
You think you're ready? Okay.
Ready as I'm gonna be.
Ladies and gentlemen, for one night only, celebrating his 73rd rotation around the sun, give it up for Mr. Clebo Rainey.
This is so unbelievably special. I'm not deserving. I feel like, you guys are the ones that have made me who I am. So this is Dallas Poetry Scene. And I first went to Nashville and saw a poetry slam there. I think that's when there were 3 national poetry teams. There was a national, only 3 teams went. I mean, New York, Chicago, New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, yeah. And so I said, well, Dallas has got as good poets as anywhere else. And I'm going to go back to Dallas and start a poetry slam, and we're going to go to Nashville and kick ass. And it only took us about 8 years, but when we finally did kick ass. And so that was great. That was great. A quick story before we start. The last time I was in this venue was that something called 12 Poets Speaking. Does anybody remember that? I think there are a few people might hear. When the slam first started, the literary poets were like freaked out. They hated us because we were getting all this press and written about stuff in the newspapers and the Weekend Guide, Dallas Observer. And really it was just because I owned a record shop and a concert hall right down the street, Metamorphosis Concert Hall, the second New Ed club in town. And I was used to going out and promoting. I knew how to go leave press packages and put flyers on telephone poles. That was back in the day before the internet. And so I was good at doing that. And I think that was a lot of the reason that we were kind of getting a lot of recognition. And some of the literary poets were kind of pissed off about it. I had this friend, Robert Trammell, who started WordSpace, which since passed away. Yeah, Robert Trammell. When he died, they scattered his ashes with an airplane over White Rock Lake. And so he and I were smoking buddies and had known each other for a long time. And we kind of got together before this thing because it was going to be like 12 poets were going to come to this venue. I guess it was next door, but we had it. And we're going to all bitch about what we don't like about what's going on in the Dallas poetry thing and why we're not getting enough press and not making any money and, being entertaining. And so we kind of decided, well, look, the solution to this problem is we need to get, you literary poets, we want us slam poets. Yeah, we're just young, a lot of young starting out performers. We're good on stage. And slam, I'll tell you right now, those of you that haven't been around it a lot, but most of you all have, slam is just a gimmick. That's all it is, a really, really, really good gimmick. It makes poets be performers. It makes them do their poem in 3 minutes. It makes them, it gets the audience drawn in with the scoring and prize money. And, Mark Smith, who invented it, realized that.
So what?
That's right. And so we decided, Robert and I did, well, look, the solution to this problem is, you have some of us slammers come out to your WordSpace, Writers Garrett, what have you, and, teach us about how to put words together and maybe what we're saying, our similes are too much, or we're saying and too many times, or but too many times. And then we'll have you guys come out and feature at our performance arenas, and we'll teach you how to be performers. And they even had me come do workshops on how to be a good performer, so you wouldn't get up on stage behind a podium with a piece of paper in front of your face and a drink in your hand and read an 8-minute poem about your girlfriend broke up with you and your dog ran away. And so that was a solution that day, and it turned out to be a good thing because we did start crossbreeding a lot after that, and I think the whole Dallas poetry scene grew because of that, because we decided to cooperate with each other, which is the thing that is amazing to me tonight is all you people that were involved in the slam and other venues, and now you run your own venues, and you've got other people you're influencing, and when you turn 73, they'll be doing this for you, hopefully, because this is, I want to thank Gino so much, and everyone that's contributed to my performance.
We love you.
I got laid off from Half Price Books when COVID came along, and I lost my car. Didn't have any money. I actually now ride a Vespa, believe it or not. You knew me when I was a biker. So I'm still live out, behind Half Price. I've got my little Vespa, and this is going to enable me to kind of maybe wait till the weather cools down a little before I can really get out and look hard for a new job. So if any of you knows where I can get a job, I need a job because I have Social Security, which is about $1,000 a month. It pays my rent, but I need another $1,000 for like marijuana and video and Dr. Pepper. What have you.
How about utilities?
Cell phone, all that shit. So this is going to enable me to kind of, have another couple of months to live. And so everyone that's contributed, everyone that's come out tonight, thank you so much. Everyone that's read the poem. So that's my little spiel about the last time I was here.
That's the thing I read earlier.
Okay.
Don't look at that.
I became a poet when I used to own a record shop called Metamorphosis. I left my first wife, Babs, with this young girl, Laura. We all three lived together for a while. And then I went on this theater tour with this kind of culty theater company out of Fort Worth called the Theater of All Possibilities. There were the people that built the biosphere. They were all planning to go to Mars and just say fuck off to everybody. And so, of course, when we went out to Tucson, I rode my motorcycle in 6 weeks, 6,000 miles to the West Coast and back on this theater tour. And I went to Austin for my first stop, and I met some poets down there, David Mormon, John Wright, who went on to teach at the School for Disembodied Poetics in Boulder, and now I think teaches at NYU. And David Jules, some other early Austin poets. So I was infatuated with poetry and seeing that there were people that were poets. That's what they did. So I was on this kind of romantic, kind of throwing myself into the chaos, riding my motorcycle to the West Coast and back. All I had was a notebook, and I started writing poetry. And the first poem I wrote, which I'm going to do for you now, is a poem that I wrote up on Mulholland Drive. You wind up in the Hollywood Hills, you go wind up the hills, right across with the old Hollywood sign, and right below you is the Hollywood Bowl. And I came back and read this poem to some of my theater friends, and they were like, "Yeah, boy, I mean, Clebo, you might have something here. Maybe you can be a poet." So by the time I got back to Dallas, I kept writing, and I went around and told my friends, "Hey, I'm going to be a poet." And they were like, "Oh, great, now you get to be really poor. Congratulations." And so, unfortunately, I was living in a $200 a month garage apartment out by White Rock Lake. Oh man, those were the days, $200. And Normie and I lived there, my first wife, my second wife, who the slam would not exist if it wasn't for Normie. She was just starting out as a lawyer. And we lived there for 7 years before we got married, 5 years or something like that, in this little $200 a month garage apartment. She had a law office there, and I was doing poetry, and I was traveling, what have you. And so this is the very first poem that I wrote in Los Angeles. LA stretched out as far as the eyes could see. From the Mulholland Hills to Catalina, back like a reptile rising from the sea. The Hollywood Bowl fanned out below on the day when the smog was light. For 50 miles and more, this city of stars and cars galore moved with the pulse city boys adored. Palms swayed in the warm November breeze allowed the trees to keep their leaves. Tourists came to view the view where bikers whizzed by on dangerous curves, proving they had the nerves to stand the crunching screech it takes to make it to swerves, escaping danger's reach. My jam box melted off the sound to shriek back as I stretched out like a lounging lizard come out of his hole for the day. A couple of lovers walked hand in hand upstairs to view the old Hollywood sign, made of wood on the LA stamp that blew on the city's bleach like poetry made of skid-starred rhymes. Night dripped over the cityscape as Clebo's skin began to tingle. Haunting music melted with birds chirping songs. For after all, he was a single lost child made of mist and hiding a devil's prom. And looking up in infinity to find his identity, the only thing he could fit into his leather glove was tall, gray electric poles with wires connected to the city that nightly lit to carry power where buildings sit. For after all, they're but the angels that destroy darkness's gloom and fuel the private rooms that keep the bums at bay. Can you spare some cutter, my brother? Or maybe some bread or butter? The city of angels indeed, and coke and speed and weed, skate wheels and blondes with muzzles like exploding cart muscles of blood and sperm. LA stretched out like a giant moving worm. Thank you. All right. Always a trip. So this next poem is for you. So one of the great things about nationals was you go to nationals and you can meet people at all these other poetry events that run slams. You go picture at their slam. And so, because I was fortunate to have a lawyer wife who supported my broke ass, I was able to go on these tours, and I would do like a Southwest tour, West Coast tour, East Coast tour, middle of the country tour, and I would do like 40 gigs in 45 days in 15 states. Just go out, go from one slam to the next, drive 200 miles a day to the next place, make my little whatever I made at that slam, and go to the Greasy Spoon, and have a smoke a few, and drive to the next gig the next day. Well, Nomi and I had just gotten married in November, and down in Deep Ellum, and a bunch of poets came to that at the Green Room, and so I was leaving on this poetry tour for 6 weeks to the West Coast and back. I actually went all the way to Vancouver, and then I came back to Fargo, back to the middle of the country. And so when I kissed her goodbye in the driveway in Oak Cliff, I noticed that she cried this one little tear. And I kept thinking about that tear while I was touring with my friend Garland Thompson from Monterey. And so as I was touring, I wrote this poem, and it's called And I Took You, but all the Dallas poets, I think, just call it the tear poem. So this is for Normie. Squeegee hard in the front yard on New Year's Day before I left to visit friends on the Old Poets Highway. Come beginning, another dozen jump and big green sunsets, another vision of urban light. At night, headlights beam on rainy curves, and stars slip out beyond the El Paso overlook. Poets love stars. Morris was twinkling just past sight of Nepalese towers of Utah, but when I looked up there in the front yard, a single tear ran wet down brown-eyed rosy cheeks. I catch it. This board's the ground, but it's sound and safe, my jacket pocket. Taking me west on I-20. In Albuquerque, I used a tear to smear my lips before stepping on the silver stage, sloshed around my scotch and Happy Jacks. Beat a hamburger at the Frontier Grill on Central across the University of Mexico. Must make Phoenix 10 hours away by tomorrow, where I used a tear to wash away the sorrow my brother and I share with all the other dysfunctional families of America. At Mountain Roadside Park that night, I wrapped a tear in the sleeping bag at the back of my minivan, singing to sleep. The toes of my feet keep it warm and safe till dawn cracks across the Hopi Reservation. 1,000 roadside shops selling the tourists fake jewelry. During the slam in Tempe with Vietnam vet Sarge, I snorted some of the tear-like speed to work my ass off for second place cash. Dash across town to smoke the tear like ash inside Sarge's pipe. First legal marijuana I've ever inhaled, stamped with Arizona Cactus State seal of approval and available over the telephone. I used to hear reporters to call up Bob, the canvas dealer, advertise a local underground rag. Hey Bob, got some marijuana for sale? Safer than nicotine or beer or nuclear fission, anytime. I rhymed the tear with a longhorn steer, heading to Las Vegas. Like a magus, I cast my spell on stage. Black costumes, rattling chains, sunglasses after 8. Ate some of the Trio My watermelon ribs set between the Kurt Cobain and the Jimi Hendrix shrine at the Hard Rock Casino. Metropolis of mafia electricity, more power used a single night in Las Vegas than the entire state of Nevada in a month. At the Double Down Dive Punk Saloon, I used a tier for quarters to spin the guitar handle on the Signature slot machine. It pays off 1,000 tiers to 1. The water floods me out in the desert amongst the Joshua trees, your spirit engulfing me in the sandy breeze, kissing you far away in the chilly neon air down on Gambler's Row. Next morning, I cleaned the rearview mirror with a tear to slide towards San Diego, down I-40 and Highway 15, across the famous Route 66, Chowrack and Cassidy's rusty cars set in the backyard of every junk pile in the state. Dusty mountains, ancient ocean floors, glitter with glass and shells in the afternoon sun, and the tear runs into the California sunset. And I took you there, took you in the tear everywhere, all at once. Even on Bush Street on my 73rd birthday, placed it back on your cheek, hidden inside my mouth, back in the driveway, Clip. Took my arms at night, my own special dreams, rubbed a tear across my lips. Spread you like a salty sea of joy. Took you and the tear and spread you all over me. That's the one. She's the best. We wouldn't be here without her. I wouldn't be. She got me out of it once. I got busted smoking weed on my way to a gig in Houston. A speed trap. Busted. One joint. Let's see, what are we going to do now? Okay. When I was in, we did a little, you saw a little Love Supreme earlier. When I was in San Francisco, I was always been a big jazz head. I majored in jazz in college, played in the SMU lab band. And so I loved John Coltrane. And so I was hanging out with some cool San Francisco poets, and I had heard from my friend Garland Thompson about the Church of John Coltrane that was run by a bunch of jazz musicians who were Christians. You know, Coltrane was a heroin addict for a long time, became a Christian, did this album, Love Supreme, turned his life around. And so they had started this church called the Church of John Coltrane. They fed the homeless. And on Sundays, they'd have like a 2-hour religious service and then a 2-hour musical service to raise money for the homeless. So I went down, and so while the whole church was doing John Coltrane's song, Love Supreme, I wrote this poem, and I got to go back a year later and perform it there. And so there's a sing-along part of this. You'll recognize it. So if you wanted to sing along, that would be great. A love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme, 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 a love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme, 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 a love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme, supreme, supreme. It was a cloudy Sunday morning in the Haight. The mother of all love sat next to me, free from any unrecognizable sin. The young black girl holding crochet pink baby, wrapped from African crucials surrounded by African Christ. St. John Coltrane, spiritual vibe of soaring hearts, stabbed with silver swords, tambourines vibrating on the old upright piano. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Onward, Christian soldiers, fighting with hands of peace and sanctuary. Our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, 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 our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme. In black rock, red line robes, the musicians tune their instruments the way we prepare ourselves for heaven, sitting on the wooden pews. The children made the racket we always make, African, Orthodox, Baptist, Jew, or Catholic. Jesus was black here. By the way, he actually was strong and proud and graced by the music of bebop. Singing the praises of reverent dance to reveal his dark skin, sealing the bond for all those that fought for the underprivileged. Our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, 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 our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, supreme, supreme. I said below the burning bush crowned with gold cross and rejoice. Flames pouring from St. John, Will I Am, Coltrane, saxophone, and we were rarefied in sanctified air, vibrating in a cool groove of freedom, dancing above olive trees. We were healed with invisible hands, standing beside the holy triangle, each of us a host, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, each of us a host, for religion is still deep toward the pineal glands of our subconscious brain. The notes fell like rain on a burning world of chaos. Lips of the choir calming our restless souls. Old tabernacles, southern slave ships filled my eyes with tears for all those that suffered, and we were saved. The pink crochet baby smiled. Musicians singing 8-bar praises of joy. A life warrior worship bobbing in a troubled sea and an obscene world. Our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, 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 our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, 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 our love supreme, our love supreme, our love supreme, supreme, supreme. It is true. Seek and ye shall find. I am the beginning and the ending. I am everything beautiful and profane. I am St. John, Will I Am Coltrane. I love supreme. I love supreme. I love supreme. I love supreme. Supreme, supreme. I love supreme. I love supreme. I love supreme. Supreme, supreme. May be peace and love and perfection throughout all creation, O God. May be peace and love and perfection throughout all creation, O God. May be peace and love and perfection throughout all creation, O God. May be peace and love and perfection throughout all creation, O God. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Supreme, supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Supreme, supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. Supreme. Our love is supreme. Our love is supreme. John Coltrane. I hear the Bitcoin places came and bought out the Church of John Coltrane, tore it down.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. Progress. Okay.
All right. This next poem has something to do with any music. There we go. You know, my favorite slam team was '98 when we came in second in the Rarefied Superheroes, and we barely lost in New York City. Channel 4 followed us around. We were on TV, you know, kind of walking.
First place loser.
And we barely lost to New York, but to us it was a win. We were so,
Hey, the Twins win.
we were so fucking happy.
Hell yeah.
And so then years later, you know, after working our ass off and realizing what it takes to win a National Poetry Slam and putting a different team together, Contact, Universe, Amy, and
The other guy.
no, Gina, Rock Baby was the alternate. Who was the fourth? Yo,
No,
Gina.
The other guy.
That's right. I forgot.
The sexy one.
The sexy one, exactly.
The other one.
And so when we won in Seattle, nobody was happy for us, and we just kind of felt, you know, like, I don't know, put off or something. But we went back to, we just decided, fuck it, we're just gonna go back to our hotel room and party down, which we did. And so I had like
Y'all fell asleep and like nobody else slept. Like, fucking
so,
call that a party.
so I had this little paper bag full of mushrooms that I had been saving. And so we went back to the room and everyone was drinking, and I did my mushrooms, and I was just, you know, just thinking about, by then, you know, kind of 2001, about the last year, you know, fully on the scene, everything that I had seen and my experience with poets, what they meant to me, what their lives were like, what their struggles were, what their hopes, the dreams were. And so I wanted to kind of put that into a poem. If there's one poem I know, Rarefied is kind of my signature piece, they say. You know, makes my nose bleed. But if there's one poem that I'd like to be remembered for, this would probably be it. And this goes out to every single person in this room, and it's called The River. There's a river that flows through this life of mine. Always raining words from the scorched earth, beating small stream across waiting people, their minds thirsty for the righteous. Through the years I've watched over and tended to these humble souls, an imperfect servant at best. Lines of their poetry winding down the shoreline of mighty river crest, their day jobs beating at them with the rotted wood of half-submerged trees, moss dropping their turquoise love lights, floating in a putrid backwash in the shade of oak and weeping willows. Beneath their limbs, a baby sinks to the lost darkness of still waters. Sometimes these artists lose faith in their talent. Little streams dry up under the heat of a Texas sun. Car payments and rent, parental expectation, wives and husbands, tired of supporting their worthless words, blowing in the dust of a barren land. Cactus and bull nettles, their own reward at the end of a tortured dream. But then comes the rainy season when poems grow with hope and inspiration and love is reborn and the light at sunset is perfect to get in cinema just right as they turn a simile into a holographic yellow rose. Then the river is full of smiles and warm friends of liberal couches making their across America, spreading wisdom and truth, honey and wine and a bowl of warm rice. That's a nice reward for a poet, don't you know? Sweethearts rodeo, their heels kicking high on the spoken word stage, glory flowing through their blood. All the passions, emotions of a lifetime of experience dripping down their tear ducts across soft and withered cheeks down to the river. The river washes across the world, nothing can withstand its power. Big buildings crumble. The land is changed to what only God can. Poets and their poems come washing through the valleys and the winding tell of our lives in a flood of expression. Black poets raging against the injustice of slavery and wanting to thwart our civilization. Gay poets who want to be thought of as normal, give the same respect any human being deserves. White poets trying to shed their guilt and make amends for privilege. Female poets want to be considered equal and safe. And poets have lost a lover. Need to remember them with a line of prose that cuts to the center of their being and embeds it with barbed wire and lace. And champion poets who always win, always have that same smug smile on their face, even the river can't wash it away. And young poets just want to go around shouting, "Fuck!" and get in your face with angry words. And old poets whose time is growing shorter and the light at the end of their days is calling them home with a hickory wind. And a mighty river just keeps on flowing through eternity till the end of time when the world is shattered into a billion cosmic pieces, and even then, tiny crystals will twinkle with a pure, pristine line of prose that will nurture a new and a better world where poets are blessed and those that love them too. Thank you so much for this evening. It has been so super special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to hear Rarefied?
Rarefied! Rarefied!
You want to see me die on stage?
If we can bring you back as like zombie Clebo,
Is the evening over now? Or is it?
No, can you do Rarefied for us? Can you feel it?
I can't. Was there other stuff where I could catch my? You want me to
I
do
was
it
gonna
now?
let you catch your breath, and I was gonna see if somebody wanted to say some words while he catches his breath, and then come back and do it.
Actually, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, you can say something real quick.
All right.
Yeah, you can.
In addition to Clebo and wishing him a happy birthday, we do need to thank some folks. First, Brown Sugar Lounge for running. GoFundMe. Secondly, thanks to Bob Whoopicat Stevenson and F&G Eats. Grab one, 2, or 3, whenever you get out.
Everybody, please get one of those, or get 2 maybe. Take them out.
Also, we do want to thank Aida and Joaquin Zuatneo for the donation of the beverages. After Joaquin Zuatneo for putting together our meeting with the Dallas Institute, these guys have been fantastic to us. Send our thanks to the owners of this group.
They're here.
Yeah, right there.
We thank you.
Thank you so much.
And of course, let's say happy birthday to our man, our friend, Mr. Clebo Rainey.
Thank you, Gina Weatherly, because, well, how far did you come from Austin?
Uh-huh.
She came all the way from Austin. She set up our first Zoom call.
Thank you, Jenna.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenna. Yeah, Tara for setting up our video, intros, and like I said, we'll put that in some downloadable form, I'm sure.
Opalina for coming in here and doing what she got to do. We called you like, hey, we called you late last night. Hey, girl, what you doing? And then boom, right here.
Yes.
Noemi. Oh my God. Noemi took so much care of us, y'all. I remember after the Noemi Clebo era, we had to go do fundraisers. We had to we had to give blood to raise money to go to nationals. But when Noemi and Clebo were running things, it was like, we didn't worry about those kind of things. It was just paid for it. Just get on the plane. Get on the plane.
Get on the van.
And so it was cool. Or we drive cross country. So round of applause.
I love those
Finally, thank you all for being here tonight. Because like I said, there's a lot of old faces that we ain't seen in ages.
And also give it up for this guy.
We are grateful because you are the family that we have chosen. Through nights of rare meetings and late night drinks and far too many shouting matches and basically battles, and like I said, nights lost, nights won, and we're grateful to all of you for being a part of that. So thank you.
And let's thank our DJ.
Yes, DJ Deluxe, Mark Ridley, PCS Hire, Music Board,
ran for governor of Paraguay. No, that's a lie. That's a lie.
Since we're up here, I probably could get some kind of award. I've known him since 1976.
Whoa.
I think I beat all you guys as far as the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
I stumbled upon his first, that was the first location, Metamorphosis Records. I was in high
Right around
school.
the corner.
Yeah, right on the corner. And ended up smoking dope with him and his first wife. I lent him my dad's unused Yamaha acoustic guitar. He didn't even have a guitar. And he started a band with her called Champs Meeting, and then it was Point of Departure. So then he opened up the second punk club in Dallas. I was in a band called Quad High, P.I. And we were kind of post-punk. No one was really doing what we're doing. I was in the Joy Division, meets Devo, meets we're doing lots of acid. I go over, trip with him. I think.
Bobby Socks.
Yes, oh yes, so the whole thing. So anyway, thank you guys for bringing him around. I had some other folks that couldn't be here, but anyway, thanks for whoever asked me to do that. Songs I'm playing are it's like 2 in the morning. I said, what do you want to hear? You know, so whatever we got left, you'll be hearing us. Playlist you want to minute from the 80s. So thanks. Thank you.
I want to say one final thing before Clebo go on. Dallas Poetry Slam, he started a legacy here. For those who don't know, Dallas Poetry Slam is still continuing on. He spawned quite a bit of creativity from the poets that came in and got a part of Dallas Poetry Slam. Not only Dallas, but poets from across the world, the country, have been coming into Dallas to perform as features and all that. And we attribute all that to Clebo for starting the scene here for us. Not only here, Fort Worth kicked off the scene. Also, recently we had 2 Dallas Slam teams here in Dallas at one point. I mean, and you see the fruits of the labor. Joaquin Zawachinejo for Laura of Dallas.
That guy.
Yeah, poets from the Slam go to their poetry jam. Jason Carney, Joaquin Zawachinejo, myself.
The country of reunion.
Yes, but he spawned a lot. And one of the things I remember him saying was, art and poetry makes the city beautiful. And it's because of him that we have a beautiful city.
We do want to shout out Dallas Poetry that is still going on. We do want to shout out Poetchella, which is coming up here very, very soon. Kenny's been working her ass off to get that going.
He just passed.
So it just passed? Yeah. I thought it was recent, but you know.
It was recent. Last week.
Also, do check out madswirl.com. First Wednesday of every month out in the Oak Cliff. Please do check that out. Mad Swirl is a great open mic. A lot of our folks that do that still read here. It's really cool. And of course, like I said, Dallas Poetry Slam still happening on.
The Brown Sugar Lounge.
Brown
There
Sugar
we go.
Lounge.
Yes. The Brown Sugar Lounge. And they were great enough to lend a hand. They loaned us lyric tonight. We got you over here. Lyric be partying on the weekend. She ain't even comes to be here, but she's here. And she's the owner of the Brown Sugar Lounge. It's every 4th Saturday. The next event is Rain's Roast. Rain had to dip out real quick, but we're gonna roast Rain. His birthday is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we are, on this 4th Saturday, we're going to roast him. We're going to talk about him so bad. And he's allowing us to do this. He's going to get us back. But
And it's open mic too, so.
yes, open mic. Anybody who wants to come get down. But with that said.
And also, where can we find out more about the Dallas Institute? Please, where can we find out more about the program?
Yes.
I'm so glad y'all are here. I became the leader of this place during the pandemic, and so we're kind of reopening. There's a DallasInstitute.org website. Please come. Joaquin is going to be reading in September. So just stay tuned. Look for, we need email addresses. Yeah, okay, so I have to say something because we have so many poets in the room. That's my husband, Michael. He's like, you need to say something about Lyric Hour. So I am also a poetry lover, and I grew up in Dallas, and I used to go to Club Clearview, and I used to kind of hide in the back because I was very shy. So it's just such a thrill that you're here, Clebo, and this is happening. So I moved back, and I thought, what should we do at the Dallas Institute to bring people together to make our city beautiful over poetry? So what we're going to do is have, and Joaquin will be kicking us off, we're going to have not happy hour, but lyric hour, regularly once a month. And we're going to ask the poets who come, just, I need to know your names. I need to know who you are here. But we're going to ask the poets to come to share the poem that they're going to read. And we will have cocktails and mocktails inspired by the poem. But we'd love to see you here in the fall.
Tomorrow night, Big Z is having his Thursday City at Top 10 Records tomorrow. That should be interesting. Top 10 Records tomorrow night.
Also, Beto O'Rourke cut somebody out.
Yes.
Sir, are you ready?
Yeah, see if I can do this and not die.
Do not die, do not faint.
No
Control your nosebleeds. Ladies and gentlemen, our last poem for tonight, the signature piece.
Yes.
From his hit album, Clebo, is the subtitle. And he has the I hooked him up with that.
Rarefied superhero.
He is. Ladies and gentlemen, Clebo Rainey.
I'll tell you a quick story about this poem. It's kind of become my signature piece over the year. It's true, we did have the big controversy. You can read about it, I think, online, the big Genevieve Van Cleef moment where she took her top off in front of everybody at the Slam Masters meeting. But I used to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas used to have this great poetry scene. And it's just such a great place to go, great city. You go there and you go to Hot Springs and go to the spa, get you a rub down. And they had this cool hotel you could stay in. And I had this friend, Bud Kenny, who was a poet, and he was building a home on the back of an old railroad car that he turned into a trailer. And his goal was to have these 2 mules, and him and his girlfriend were going to take this poetry wagon, to Maine and back from Arkansas, which they did. And they would just go into some small town and it'd be like a traveling medicine show. They had a little stage, they lopped the thing down, and they'd come out and they'd do a poetry reading, and for money and hot food or whatever they could get, and then they would take their 2 mules and chug on down the road to the next place. So I always stayed with my friend Bud Kenny, and I remember he had like an outhouse, and I came out of the outhouse one morning and there was like this bobcat sitting there staring at me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back inside of the outhouse. But so it was like out in the woods, in Arkansas. So I had a feature in Fayetteville, and there was a poet there named Brenda Moosey, who has since passed. And there was another poet from there. What was her name? She was an Indian girl. Gorgeous. Her name now. But Brenda took me, after I did my feature there on Saturday, on this Sunday morning. She goes, I want to take you someplace, Clebo. We're going to have breakfast. And then she took me to one of these churches where they have like the rattlesnakes, and someone playing electric guitar and a drummer, and then they're all dancing around these fucking rattlesnakes. And I'm like up against the wall, like, holy shit. And so while I was driving back from Fayetteville to Hot Springs, which was about 100 and some miles through the Ouachita Mountains, I just kept pulling over at these roadside parks, writing verses of this poem, Rarefied in Arkansas. And so by the time I got back to Hot Springs, I had written this poem. So the next night, I was doing a feature at this place called McDougal's or McDonald's, not McDonald's, but it was like some old cafe that had been there for fucking ever. And so it was the first place I ever read Rarefied, and that night that place burned to the ground. So that was kind of, I thought, a tip off. This might be a pretty cool poem. So this, I came back and worked it up and kept doing it, and I started tearing my shirt off. And then Genevieve, the Austin team, got pissed at us. They were really mad because we beat Austin in their home venue the night before finals. And so they were really pissed at that. And but I had torn my shirt off at the end of Rarefied in Arkansas, which I'm not gonna do tonight. But and Normie and I had gone to the Slam Masters there, the council, and we had got it all okay. We'd made sure it was legal. Clebo was gonna take his shirt off at the end of Rarefied. Okay, well that's all right as long as you know, whatever. So they said, okay, well you can take your shirt off. So we slammed against Austin. I was up against this girl in my round, Genevieve Van Cleve, who's a great poet and a great person. She's a hoot. She's kind of like a redneck nerd. I would recommend to say that was her.
I like Star Wars.
Yeah, she was fun. She was like trailer trash nerd. And her poetry, not politically correct to say that, I guess, but she was hilarious. She was really funny and a great poet. And so Bill West and Mike Henry, who was there, was on that team. And so they were so heartbroken that we beat them in their home venue. First off, we were pissed off that we had to slam against them in their home venue, you know, for the quarterfinals, which we did. And we had the superhero piece that scored the first perfect score ever in National Poetry Slam.
Yes.
All 10 from all the judges. And so that really is what put us over the top. But in the final round, it was me against Genevieve Van Cleve, me doing my Rarefied poem. I tore my shirt off, and I got a pretty good score. Well, the next morning, they had, you know, at Nationals, they have this Slam Masters meeting, which is basically a bitch session where you come in, and before they have the finals that night, everyone comes in and bitches about what they haven't liked that's gone on at the Nationals. So I'm sitting there with my wife Normie, and Genevieve Van Cleve comes in with her whole little group of followers, and has this notebook ready to read from. She takes her shirt off. I mean, bra, no titties hanging out, you know. Takes her top off, and is just standing there crying, reading this thing about it's not fair that men can take their shirts off and women can't take their shirts off. Well, you're standing there with your shirts off, so I guess you can. But so Normie, who's a lawyer, the Slam Masters are going, well, you know, out of courtesy, can we ask Clebo if he'll keep his shirt on during finals? And Normie, the lawyer, is sitting in my ear going, don't say anything, don't say anything. Genevieve's there crying, you know, with the topless. And so I'm like, okay, you know, I won't take my shirt off. So that night, I didn't take my shirt off. I dedicated the poem to Brenda Moosey and Genevieve Van Cleve. And we wound up losing by 0.2 to New York City, I think it was. And we were so happy. We were just beside ourselves. And everyone was so happy for us. And the superhero piece, everyone just loved that poem. It's immortal, that poem. Gino has gone down in slam history. And Jason Carney, who's had a loss recently. I'm so sorry about that. And Jason Edwards, who I understand is doing great. And they're superheroes, you know. And so Gino made us, we all got these tattoos, really matching tattoos. There's a gay superhero tattoo, there's a redneck superhero tattoo, there's a Rarefied superhero tattoo, and Gino wouldn't get it unless we got an onk. So we had to get an onk, 98, Rarefied superhero, but Gino never got his goddamn tattoo. He told people for years it was on his ass, but no one believed.
It's right here. I can't. That's indecent. I can't show you.
Yeah, he never got the tattoo.
I got it. It's just I can't.
So the night I did that, this poem did make my nose bleed. I thought I was going to die at that national, but I'm going to try to see if I can get through it tonight. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, fellows who gather around, listen to the sound of my voice and the wonder of being pulled on tree line of curves to Washoe Mountain, in Hot Springs and Russellville, on the road and gazing down on Nimrod Lake, shining like a diamond in the Ozarks. The sticky sap-filled tips of a billion pine needles whip me into whirling dervish frenzy, twirling around and speaking snake handling tongues with the overcrowded slam pits of America, reaching the backwoods, cascading the notes of words hammered out on vocal keyboards. I pulled the plastic off the Elvis CD I found in Shangri-La Records in Memphis, and he blares the speakers in my back seat. I hear that train rolling down the line. I ain't had no loving in such a long, long time. I roll on down I-30 past Lee Creek, winding on 71, Green Hill spilled across my front window on my dashboard. I gotta tell you, I'm commanded by high authority yelling to y'all, I've been rarefied in Arkansas. I must testify I've been kissed by angels, singing Southern hymnals, and Baptist and Presbyterian pews where doubters are few. They're singing erases ghosts of Indian spirits in the past, cast a spell on my right hand, once terrified, but now petrified in gold, and I'm sanctified in Dixie beauty, right from the hills of Arkansas. Woo! From Cincinnati side streets I'm fleeing now, seeing the poor, overcrowded, rundown garbage heaps, gray housing projects, crack addicts selling themselves on street corners. I swim in the white rivers of Tennessee, stare at Tommy's 4 floors of winding stairs he shares with his great-faced lover and her wine-covered lips. I sit back on the interstate, send my words barreling down I-40 to Nashville, C. Ross Poetry Parlor, mad demons filled with semen phrases too dangerous for the capital country music stages of whiskey and beer. I fear for my safety and retreat with a Confederate army across the mighty Mississippi, jump on a steamer, ease my way back to the Ozarks. A black crow flies low across my path, where I'm sitting at home on my pillow, talking to the moon, wailing friends in the ocean of love, reach for the handle, knife pen in hand, wrapped in wet bed sheets, and back on the stage in Fayetteville, where I've been rarefied in Arkansas. Ginsberg, Burroughs, Bukowski, Ferland, Getty, and I, who teaches Washington Mountains, and won't give up, we'll fight, we've got guns, we've got dynamite, we'll fight. Through my words, pastor power, the website of heaven opens above me in Devil's Den National Park. I'm morphed into a mad preacher in the pulpit. Everyone stands up, clapping your hand, clapping your hand, clapping your hand, clapping your hand, clapping your hand. You're born again in the glory of the Washington. You are swept up in a fevered, fainting passion. You are washed clean in the flowing soap of water. You are terrified, but in Arkansas, I tear off my clothes, wallow in the glory of my sanctified words. The cyber god from high reaches down to my last petrified voice. We're in Arkansas, I'm rarefied. Good night. Thank you so much, everybody.
The most beautiful part of that poem I've always remembered was like, the website of heaven opens. I'm like, God! I love it. Oh my goodness. Oh, come on.
Thank y'all so much for coming out. Get some food, get some drinks, some beverages, and remember the eternal question as you go off into the night, and that is, what if Rosa Parks had a car? Thank you.